Hello? Okay. It's a bit low. Yeah, so basically, my thing is more long term. You know, when I make music, I think about wanting to listen to these songs in 5 years, 10 years to come. It's not only about now. So for me to be able to do that, the quality has to be, you know, as best as possible, so I can enjoy my music. You know, not only the quality technically, but the music quality of it as well. So the musicians that I would invite to come play my productions, I try to make sure that I have, you know, the best musicians I can get and that I can afford. And yeah, and basically that's how I work. And from there I build basically from the building blocks is just the drum loop, or building from the drum loop, getting onto keys, sending to somebody to play it better, or inviting somebody to come to studio to play it better. And then from there I think about if I'm going to include guitars, or if I'm going to include live horns, or whatever instruments, you know, that I'm going to build from there. But you know, it's a process of from drums to some sort of foundation of keys, adding live instruments, and then thinking about, okay, how can I creatively make this work, you know? And that's how I approach most of my productions. And Chyma will talk a bit about what he does.
Okay, with my sound production, actually, I approach it. You want to say something? There? Oh, okay. With myself, I approach it. It's not very formal. How I do it. Pardon? Mic in the mouth. Okay. How I approach it, it's more not very formal, because I'm a sort of bedroom studio kind of thing, because that's what we do most of the time, you know. I understand most of us here are also producing from home. There are those who would hire studios because of budget and all that. They have good budget, but there are those who don't have good budget, they have big bedroom studios. How many of you here actually have a bedroom studio? Because I know as producers. Exactly. That's how I started too. Bedroom studio is always cheaper to work with, and also myself, my foundation as a music producer, I used to play keys at church. As I know, most people also start music from church, and so I used to play keys at church, and somehow I managed to produce my songs alone. I can make a song from scratch anywhere. So that works for my advantage, because when it comes to budget of paying musicians and paying, someone's going to play bass and someone's going to play keys, sometimes you find that the money's not there, because there's piracy and there's all that. So the music industry doesn't make money per se when it comes to, let's say, selling your music. We depend more on gigs. So if you can learn how to play music instrument, it works better. And that's what I'm doing. So for most of songs that I do, I love keys, I love Rhodes, especially in the piano. So most of my songs, they've got those elements, and also bass, you know, pads, because it's soulful. Most songs that I do are soulful. So it depends on the genre as well, as to what sound you choose. Let's talk about soulful house. Mostly it's obviously going to be pads and your Rhodes and all that. And then deep house is more harder. You rely more on steps, bass line, and also the kick is a bit harder. But in soulful house, which is what I'm doing, I'm mostly softer and rely more on vocals or other instruments like your leads, your saxophones, and all that. So, and guitar also, just to give it that musical vibe. So for me, mostly it's just like that, a bit softer. So I don't know why.
I do the same. But just to add again something that a lot of people might be struggling with, that I think, or when I listen to a lot of our local productions, you know, yes, we hear people talking about the quality. You know, the quality is not good, the mixing, the mastering is not good, and I'm a very curious person, so I ask a lot of questions about how can I get my sound to sound like that. You know, not necessarily musically, but how can I get my quality to be close to what Ralf does, what Ed Jazz does, you know, because these are the guys who've been in the game for a long time, and there's a lot of information that you can get on the net, you know, about tweaking sounds, about tweaking bass lines, or tweaking drums, but it's a learning journey that if you're a producer, you need to do it. You can't do a song and just sell it for mixing and thinking it's gonna come back sounding, amazing. Mix can only do so much to a song. So the way I approached my mixes and my music from a production level, I try to be as good as possible from the production. So if the kicks that I'm using, I try to have as best sound as I possibly can. The drums, everything has to be as best as it can before you even think about sending it to a mixer. But what I wanted to say when it comes to mixing is that we don't know, at first, before I met Ralf, there's a lot of stuff, even though I went to school to study, I know how to use an EQ, but I could still not get my sound to be proper, So the way I did it, I stopped mixing my own music. I told myself, okay, I'm not gonna mix my music because I try, but I'm not really getting. So I would commission somebody, one person. The first person I commissioned was Tony Economides, who mixes for real people. And of course, it costs a bit of money, but that's why I also don't release 10 songs in a year, unless it's an album. But I would release a song a year or 2 songs in a year because of the cost implications. But sometimes, if you cannot mix properly, just try and save a bit of money to get a professional to mix for you. But while they're mixing, don't just send it to get the mix from them, but ask questions. How did you get my kick to sound like this? How did you get my hi-hat to sound like this? Because those are the small elements that at the end of the day fuck up our music, the way it sounds, because we don't take care of each and every element. We just kind of roughly do things and we rush to release 10 songs in a year, where you could have spent all of the effort doing one song, and that one song could be, the quality could be amazing, you know what I mean? But the basis of it is really trying to find help as much as possible. Ask questions, ask people, how do you do this? Do YouTube videos, how do people do their sound, I don't know if there's any other.
Yeah, I can also go on the softwares. When it comes to softwares, I had many questions of people asking for which software is the best and all that when it comes to making music. So according to what I think a software doesn't matter much, even though it matters when it comes to the sound engine, like the song that was produced, Go Logic, and the one that's produced, Fruity Loops. There'll always be a little bit of a difference, when it comes to how the final product sounds like. Because of maybe, let's say, the sound engineer, Logic, it gives you more big, very good lows, Even when you try Fruity Loops, normally it clips. So, but still, productivity side, when it comes to being productive, if you're productive with any software, you can get away with it, especially after making your song and selling to someone who knows how to mix and how to master. So when it comes to softwares, I don't think it's really much of a big issue. You don't need to stress much that you don't have Logic or Pro Tools. You can use whatever software you like, work with what you have. Like, for an example, you can have studio monitors which cost maybe, let's say, 100,000 each, and you can get those ones that cost maybe 10,000. But then the final product doesn't really matter if from which monitors you work from what kind of studio. You can produce in a shack, someone can produce in a mansion. So that's never really a disadvantage.
And sometimes when you don't have the knowledge and when you can't listen, when you don't know how to listen to your own sounds, it doesn't matter whether you're producing in a $10,000 studio or you're producing in a bedroom studio, because a person who has taught their ears how to listen to music and how to listen to productions could do a better job in a cheap studio than somebody who doesn't know how to listen having an expensive studio. So it's not even about the expenses, it's really about, are you interested enough to learn to want to change your sound? What are you learning online? What are you inquisitive about, basically?
And also the thing of producers, normally, after producing a song, you mustn't listen to only your productions. Listen to other people who inspire. Because if you listen to your song too much, you're gonna think it's you're gonna think it's this song, and then you'll send it to everyone, and they'll tell you, work on this, work on that, and then you think I hate you, which is one of the most difficult things to do, especially if someone sends you a song and say, okay, what do you think, bruh? Next thing you say, hey brother, I think you are playing off key. Next thing they like, you think you know everything, and then when you don't respond, also, when you don't respond, and then they say, you see, now you don't even want to talk to us. So it's a bit of a difficult thing. So what you should do, I think you should listen to other people's music as much as possible before, if you produce a song, don't just go the whole day working on a song and then you give it on data file host the same day. Rather spend more time, even if it's a week, not like you're working the whole week. You can spend maybe, let's say, 4 hours on the project, but then the total duration, like you can spend 30 minutes today, the next day 30 minutes for as long as possible, so that your ears can be clean from.
Yeah. In addition to that, I'm just going to show everyone something, the way I work, and that's one of the reasons why I take so long to release my music, is because I'm always changing. I would start an idea sounding like this, and as I work through the idea, I learn to love the music. Live with your songs. Just because something sounded great today doesn't mean tomorrow it needs to be out. Take some time with your music. Will I like this next week or next month? If I listen to this 1,000 times, will I like it still? I'm going to show you something. There's a remix that I've been working on for Fly Away. Just one thing. So, so I've been working on this remix for the longest time now, and this is how it started. And there's nothing wrong with the versions. You guys were there. That's the first version. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's just an okay. And I'm gonna play you the second one, which I think this will be the final one when it's done. The point I'm trying to make with these two different versions of one remix is that you could actually spend a lot of time with your music. There's nothing wrong if you don't release a lot, but eventually when you get to a point where the product sounds right to you and represents what you like, how many of you guys here have released music that you are not happy about, of your own music? I know I have. So the main reason is that, like sometimes it's a learning process, but sometimes we rushed to releasing the songs. And most of the time in South Africa, our local guys like us, we've got dope ideas, guys. We really have amazing ideas as producers, but we can't execute the ideas. It ends up just becoming an idea. The execution, we don't spend enough time with the music, we don't spend enough time tweaking and trying to find out how can I make this better. So for me, I think before we do the presentation, like what we're gonna do with George Leslie and Chyma, my last parting words before we take questions as well is that take time with the music, be interested on how to get the sound sounding as best as possible. Yeah. Is there anything on it?
Another thing actually I can talk about is the whole thing of what's happening now in the industry. Don't be blown away by any kind of the trends. When there's a new sound coming in and then you just go with it. Because let's say, imagine you're a producer or producer DJ, and then now there's a deep house event happening. Next thing you've been producing and actually presenting your music as different kind of genders. So I think if you really want to produce many genres, rather change, maybe, come up with many names, like if you realize.
Like Charles Webster has different aliases for different styles of music that he wants to push.
Yeah, because if someone wants to book you, next thing you have a hip hop song out, they don't know what you're gonna play, they can never really trust you. So it's a big house party. They really know, okay, this name. I saw also Euphonic now is doing it. He's got timbre and
yeah.
So I think you really should. If I say my name is Chymamusique, someone must know. Okay, if I book that guy, he's not gonna play or he's not gonna play hip hop, because also when someone books me, they know what they wanna hear for their clients. Also, some venues they've got their own genres. That's the genre that they wanna hear. So stay true to your sound and believe in what you do. If you love it, then do it, and then see later you thank yourself than going up and down as if you were a taxi.
So yeah, one last thing that we're gonna do is play this song. Probably most of you guys know it. It's by George Leslie, Blow My Mind, and he's here to play the bass and just to try and also show how different something can sound. It's the same song, but he might be playing different notes. Chyma might be playing different keys to the original. So we're gonna do that. And one last thing before we do that, actually, another thing that I wanted to talk about is the way we listen to music when producing. And how I mean by that is, and this I learned from Ralf, because Ralf is quite particular when he produces. So he would listen to something like this just to make edits. Please give me a moment. You could be doing this loop just to try and find faults in your sound. So yeah, basically working in loops like this, instead of while working, I used to do this a lot. When I used to produce, I still produce. But I used to listen to the whole song as I'm working on the song. I'll go back, start from the beginning, work on the song, add stuff, listen to the whole song. But you miss certain things, so I learned to listen to produce in loops. So basically, if you have a loop like this, you could find that the vocal is a bit out of time, and you might miss it if you listen to the whole song. But in a small loop, you won't listen to it. So that's another reason why the music takes so long to me, because I would be working on small loops of about less than 5 seconds, and go on those loops, fix everything in the loops, go, across the whole song like that, and you kind of sweep through the song, but listening in loops. Yeah, that's just one trick that I've learned to listen from the German master. Okay, let's do this song. Where's George? Come through. Let's go. George Leslie. Ik niet eens aan moeten kennen, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Yeah, so what I would normally do when producing, I would have a live musician like him, even though we had the bass already, the way we know it in the song. But when you call somebody to play it in a different way, just to have a different vibe in a song, and I think that I'm interested in songs sounding different all the time, not having the same thing for a bassy, or a VST bass or whatever. Like sometimes the live thing just brings a different element to the songs. So yeah, I think because of time, we should take some questions.
Alright, producer questions. One. Apparently you're everything, eh? Let's leave you for now. The band there. 1, 2, please come forward. 3. Somebody this side. This side is the dead side. 4. Come forward. Let's go.
Hello everyone. Yeah, my question is about the best way to distribute your music out there. Is it good to get a record label, maybe to send your demos to some record labels? So I just want to know if it's a good way.
Yeah, I mean, when I was listening to Ralf and Chris earlier, and they explained how easy it is now to set up your own label, because right now it has become easier for artists to market themselves, especially with social media. If you build your own following gradually, eventually you can open up a label, you already have a following, you already have potential clients who can buy your music. But there's nothing wrong still with going through a record label. Whatever works for you, because running a label is not easy, guys. It's a lot of money, you need to invest a lot of money, a bit of money, and a lot of effort to make it work, so yeah. Is there any other question?
I'd like to ask, how do you, like, let's say you're a producer and you want to do a remix and you haven't really released music, how do you go about approaching Mr. Ralf, telling him I want to make a remix of Take Me to My Love?
Okay, about that, I always think it's not cool, because when someone drops a project, they've got plans about their project, they know how they want to run with it. Back in the days, there were bootlegs where you can just do it and then you release. But then now when going to someone and saying, I want to do a remix, firstly they're going to check, if it's a big brand, what are you going to bring to their brand that's going to make them want to work with you? So it's always better when people approach you, other than going and approaching them. I remember, how many years? Last year, I did a remix for Louis. I didn't go and approach him. He was interested after hearing some of my songs. He was like, let's meet. I think I want you to do my remix. So that's how you see that you are growing. When you push your own stuff, and then people who believe in you, they'll come to you, other than you going and actually.
Oh, sure. To me, it's not like a question, but I want to say that I really much appreciate music. To me, it's special. You inspire and go. So, any show like it really motivates us like Chymamusique from Thailand. Now with the so the connection is I go on thank you just for good so
Thank you so much.
Guys, I'm also a producer. I know. Guys, the thing is, I also started on FL Studio, and I've been. Okay, so if I'm moving to Logic, would you say it's a good idea to do it? Because what I'm asking is because, like you said, Logic is good with the lows. So would you say it's a good idea to start now or just carry on with FL?
I think when it comes to making music and music softwares, I have realized that it's all about compatibility. Like, what are you comfortable with? Because I work on Logic and Reason, but most of the production happens in Reason, And a lot of people, my whole album was done on Reason 4. I only upgraded this year. So it's not really about the the software. It's mainly about what you can do with the software, you know. But obviously, I'll tell you, it doesn't hurt to get a good software engine, you know, whether it's the Logic or Cubase or Pro Tools, you know. All of those, I really think they have super engines, and Reason and Fruity Loops probably, you know, they're trying, but they're not really competing at that level.
Thank you.
Cool.
8,000. Yeah, my question is this one. I want to. Yeah, it's just that I'm angry, guys, because. Yeah, let me be honest. Yeah, I get lost because that GOGO Music doesn't have phone number or same mola or whatever. And when I'm at the taxi rank, they say, "Yo, where are you going?" I said 18, sorry. They say 18 is go loco, but yeah, my guy, can you please tell me here? Me, I'm a DJ. You see, so I'm lucky because the way I've marketed my brand at my village, there are some guys who wanna give me music so that I can push up because I'm a deep house fan and love and deep house player. So I want you to tell me which engine can I use to, if I just put my music on that platform, just one online, then it is spread the whole.
No, I think for that you should go for something like podcasts, because you're just a DJ, you play other people's music, and so I think you should do mixes and put them on like the likes of Mixcloud, Podomatic.com, SoundCloud, and stuff like that to make it your.
Maybe you didn't hear me clearly. These guys, let me say my DJ name. I'm Skroko the DJ. They give me the music. They say, my guy, take this music and we give it to you. Yes. But we want this music to be online, not just to be played there.
You want it to be sold online?
Yeah, sold online.
No, they were talking about that age. That means you came late.
Okay, but simple thing there is get a contract signed so that when you have to pay them, you pay them right. Then it's easy. If you want to put it on iTunes, contact iTunes, send your songs, sign the contract. But the best thing is get one person who can put it on all the sites for you. So get a digital company. There's quite a lot of them. You just choose the one you want. Most of them pay the same money. Simple, and then they put it on every platform for you. It's as easy as that, but get the paperwork done, you know. Okay.
Hi everyone.
Yo.
I'm King Jazz, the producer.dj. Okay, I'm so much in love with music though, yeah. I'm running my own label, King Jazz Family. My question to you guys, since I've got so much respect for you guys, will be how important is publishing, having a PR, so to speak, a PR. Thank you.
Yeah, I can talk a bit about that. Like, for example, PR essentially it's taking a product and getting it out there, whether it's through press or through radio or TV interviews and stuff like that, you know. But there's a lot of PR companies on the net, you know, but I think, for example, with my album, when we had a lot of people that we paid money to do PR for us, and we did more work than they did for ourselves, you know. So at the end of the day, a PR company is just another person. If they're interested in pushing your product, they will push your product, you know. But if somebody thinks your product, or somebody does not have the ability to push it, and they still take a job from you to say, give us a PR job, you know, and they don't do it, you know, with the money, you know. But I think if you build some sort of brand placement of yourself, like if you place your brand properly on social media and your music is tight and people start getting some sort of interest in you, it's easy for you to contact Power FM to say, can I have a producer's number for such and such a show? I want to have an interview there, you know. Yeah, all I want to say is that we can really do things on our own without paying people, especially now, because you might pay, you might not get the job done.
This question is going to be sort of a double part.
one of the guys asked previously about remixing. When I started producing, I taught myself how to produce making bootlegs. That's how I got into it. And one of the guys asked, how do you go up to a Ralf or someone and ask would you guys find it offensive if someone like me makes a bootleg and then I put it up on SoundCloud or whatever? But it's just there. I'm not trying to make any value off it. I just put it up on SoundCloud and I'm like, this is Take Me to My Love, this remix by me, and would you guys find it? And for Chyma, you were touching on earlier on about the difference in kick drums between deep house and soulful house. You're predominantly more a soulful house producer. How much side chain would you like put on your kick drums? Because you said how aggressive it is on it differs. So how do you like side chain put on your kick drums?
Okay, let me start by answering the one-year bootlegs. Right? Okay, I think that's illegal actually, because you still put Ralf Gam's name there. So when people hear the song, sometimes they don't care who remixed, they see Ralf Gam. So in a way, it's a way of you're riding on someone's glory, instead of just starting something that's yours. So you see, maybe Ralf Gam is, people love Ralf Gam, so you use his shine to try and get yourself out there. It's not really cool, because maybe in the future, what if you're gonna make it and then you're gonna need him? He won't. Or even they see your name, they know, no, this guy is.
Can I add on that what you're saying as well? If you do a remix, a bootleg remix, if it's that good, why don't you just record your own vocals? Just remove the vocals of Take Me to My Love, record your own vocals if it's that good. Otherwise, it's not that good. You just, like he said, you're only trying to ride on somebody's wave. So, but on the other hand, when I met Opolopo this year and I asked him about the remix he did for Gregory Porter, that 1960 watts, and Sandy Baba, I think I might do some stepping. And he did those as bootlegs, but he did them for himself to play. So he liked the music and he did edits, house edits for the dance floor. And the songs caught fire, and the labels then contacted him to release the songs. So I want to say it's nothing wrong with it, but if you think that your remix of Take Me to My Love is that damn good, record your own vocals, and release the song.
And can I just add one sentence to it? It's a difference if you do it for you to play it, and people then say it's fire, and the label hears about it, or you put it on SoundCloud, which you use other people's rights illegally because you put it online. You say you don't want to make money with it, but you still use it on a public platform, which is illegal.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
So the other questions, I think after the conference we can have one-on-ones, because it's going to be a long night. We'll be here.